So here I go again. Hopefully this live will do well. So funny, all this live stuff and tech stuff that I'm learning. Anyway, I wanted this what the live I did this morning, I didn't keep it because I don't believe you could hear me. Went and got a microphone. I'm really excited about that. And hopefully now you'll be able to hear me better. And so there you go. The fun of lives, right? Crazy stuff, you guys. All right, so I'm going to repeat this little tutorial live that I did this morning, and then I couldn't upload because I had some microphone issues. So hopefully you can hear me well now, and I'm gonna go ahead, get this recorded, and then I will post it so you guys have it, because I deleted the other one since I was having those difficulties. Okay, well, I have got my microphone. I'm just gonna flip the camera around and we will get started, and I will walk through this fun little tutorial one more time. Okay, here we go, you guys. By the way, I'm using my Dagatos today, my round brush. This one is a 4. I've got my 140 pound. Hi, how are you? My 140 pound cold press paper. And I'm using a combination of my Winsor Newtons and this great little palette I love so much, the Myling. Ah, you're so sweet. So there we go. So I'm going to flip the camera around and try and go through these fun little wildflowers for you. And let's cross our fingers. Hopefully you can hear me well. I ran over and finally bought a microphone, kind of exciting. And I think I'm ready to go. All right, so here we go. Bear with me just a second so I can flip my camera around. Let's see. Okay. So there you go. You can see all my fun things. This is the one I did this morning, and I'm going to repeat for you right now. Hello, Millie. Who's Millie? How cute. Absolutely. I hope that's maybe a little puppy or maybe a daughter or a granddaughter. How fun. What a cute name. Okay. So I am using, this is kind of a smaller brush for me to use, actually. I don't usually use. Oh, you're Millie, of course, MMS. Hello, Millie. I love your name. What a cute name. Let's see. Let me grab. I love hearing your guys' names because sometimes I see you on here, but I never get to know your names because we go by our channel names. So it's always fun when I hear the names. Okay. So again, I'm using my round brush. My favorite is always Princeton. It's a number 8. This is my 140 pound cold press paper. And I'm going to use a combination of my Winsor Newton paints that I have sprayed them all. So I've got them all activated. And then I'm also playing with the Myling because I really love these. They have so many colors. Sometimes I can be kind of lazy and I don't like to mix all my colors. So these are the 3 wildflowers I'm just going to repaint here for you. I painted these this morning. And I'm mostly using this Quin Magenta here that you see. I love these colors together. So I'm using my Quin, oops, that's got a little blue in it. I'm using my Quin Magenta, and I always mix my sap green and my olive green. I just kind of like that color it gives me. And then I took my opera rose and I made it into a very, very light value, which all that means is I'm using a lot of water with it. So it's somewhat transparent, and then I can go back and add darker colors in. And then I'm also using cad yellow for these cute little Spanish brooms. This is valerian, which I have seen around here. And this is foxgloves, which I love foxgloves. I've grown them 1 or 2 times and they're so fun. They're so pretty. So let's get started. So for the foxglove, using my round brush, I'm going to be starting with the tip of my brush and then kind of making these little, they remind me of little megaphones. So that's how I'm going to do them. I'll start small at the top and gradually get larger, and then we'll add in some leaves. So here we go. Mixing my watery, very light value paint, and going to go ahead and start here at the top with just kind of, these are dabs actually up here. And as I move down, I'm just making those a little bit bigger. And then we'll go over them, hopefully while they're wet. This paper kind of dries quickly, which I don't really like. It's a student grade paper, so that's kind of what you get. So again, I'm making these little megaphone type shapes here. Just play, just have fun. Don't get too picky about them. I always say, you know, you could almost add greenery, leaves and things to anything and it'll look great. So here we go. Debbie, I need to go. Okay, you too, Millie. Thanks for stopping in. I'm so glad to have you here with me. Okay, and then what I want to do is, I'm going to try and go into these. So this is just my first layer here. I'm going to try to go into them while they're still wet, and I'm going to add my little stem here. So I'll use my sap green and my olive green that I already have mixed here on my palette because it's basically what I always use. And we're just going to go in with the tip of our brush, so very lightly, and go in and look at how beautiful. That's what I love. I love that bleed and that blend. Just like that. And to be honest, you know, the way I like painting is I kind of sometimes, I just make up my own version of these flowers. So this almost looks like it has a little bit of snapdragon type feel to it, which is fine. You know, this is your painting. Make it what you want. Use your colors you want. And then for the leaf, I'm going to point, press, and give it a little wiggle at the end there. Let me grab some more paint here. There we go. So point, press, wiggle, 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 point, press. You know, you can really do whatever you want. This is your flower. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to move on to the second flower here, and then we'll come back to this one and add some different values. What I might do is go ahead and go in and just create these little openings at the end. And I'm just going to do that by kind of dabbing in like this. Look how easy that is. And that just gives that illusion, because we're always working with shapes more than anything. So we're just giving it the illusion that there's a little opening there. There we go. Okay. So we're done with that. Let's go on to our second one, which is going to be the valerian, which is really a fun little flower. I like that one a lot. I will start with that watered down version, so very light value. And they remind me of little pom-poms. So I'm just making these tiny little circles like this. Something like that. Just using the tip of my brush. And now what I want to do is, while that's wet, oh, wonderful, love and life. Thank you. I know, I'm so excited. I'm moving up in the world, right? I got me a microphone. So while it's wet, I'm going to go in and add some darker value, which just means not as watered down. So let me grab some of that and add that in. Look at how beautiful. Now, see, this is the beauty of watercolors, you guys. I'm sure you are realizing that no other medium I have worked with allows you to get that beautiful blend and flow like watercolors do. Now, what I'm going to do right now is go in and add the stem. Let me just grab some of my olive and my sap green. And I'm going to let it, I'm hoping that because this is wet, love and life, if you are here this morning on my live that kind of was crazy because my sound, you should be a pro at this by now, right? Because I've already done this once. So you should be really good at this. Let me pick up a little bit more paint, and I'm just going to make this a tiny bit bigger here, like that. And once this dries, what I'll do is I'm going to go in and just put some darker shades in the bottom. But let's go ahead and move on to another little one over here, which I'm going to, for composition purposes, just make this one a tiny bit bigger. Something like this. I'm just really making these little dots and circles. Well, now see, there you go. I don't know if that really turned out much smaller or not. But there we go. You did. Oh, good. Did you give it a try? These are really kind of easy, but they're so fun because you could add these into any of your paintings. So you could come up with, in a composition, you could come up with, I always start with 3 bigger flowers. And then I go behind my bigger flowers and I add in kind of my secondary flowers and I make them a little bit lighter in value. And then I go in for my kind of foreground and filler flowers and I vary those. Some I will make a little darker, some a little lighter in value. And that's kind of how I work my composition in my paintings. I tend to always work in 3s, you know, rule of odds. I think the other day I referred to it as rule of 3s, but it's really referred to as rule of odds. I like odd numbers, so that's kind of what I do. Then I'm going to put one more small one here, again, that rule of 3s, or actually rule of odds. So this one I'm going to try and make a little bit smaller. Yeah, Love and Life, you should be a pro now, right? If you watched my tutorial this morning, pre-new microphone. I'm so excited. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this purple, I think, and add that in on the bottom. So let's see, Love and Life. No, I'm actually in a painting I'm already doing, a landscape. Oh, it disappeared. So you're doing a landscape painting. How fun. I was playing with a waterfall this morning and I found a really, so see how that darkened it up a bit? I found a really fun technique that I'd forgotten about for painting a little waterfall that I'll have to share with you all at some time as well. I have so much stuff I always want to share with you guys. It's like, I feel like I would overwhelm you. I could sit in a room and paint with all of you for days. Okay, so this one I made a little bit smaller. So this is really my focal point. What I just did is just went in and added some darker colors. So let me get the stems here and then we'll move on to our last flower. So just adding in with the tip of my brush, so very light pressure and holding my brush up and down. And I'm even letting it blend a little bit in there because I like the way that looks. So just like that. And then let me go in and add a little bit more to that. Let's grab a little bit darker value, which just means more paint. And I'm going to darken up underneath here. There we go. So it kind of shows some shadowing underneath. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see, our last flower, I'm debating between doing either a hydrangea, a really easy one. I think what I'm actually going to do, and I'm trying this one for the first time, so let's cross our fingers here what this is going to look like. This flower is a dandelion, I believe they call them. So let's see what we can do with that. I'm going to use, and we get lots of these. We get them in our grass and we pick them out. Oh, shoot. I barely caught your comment. I'm so sorry. It disappears on my screen here. I'm going to switch brushes, actually. This one's a little bit big. I'm going to use a number 4 for this little dandelion. Okay. So I think my approach to the dandelion, and I'm sure you'll see what I mean by these dandelions, I'm going to, let's see, point like that. They have all these little pieces. They're almost like a little mini daisy. Like that. Except for they're much smaller. Let's keep going here. And there really isn't much of a middle to them. So a different color, where a daisy, I might put something different in the middle. And then they have this green cup on the bottom of them. So let me get that. And I think a lot of places actually refer to them as a weed. I know we used to pick them out of our grass, and then they just kind of come down. They're usually quite tall, and they have these kind of prickly leaves on them. Let's see, how could we draw the leaf? The leaves are kind of something like this, and they have these thick, spiky leaves on them. For having such a small little flower, they have quite a big leaf on them. So I'm just going to kind of create, they're like this, something like that. And let's maybe create a couple more of those little dandelions. Let me get some more paint. Yeah, I remember my dad picking them out, and they were more like almost like a pest. He didn't like them. Maybe another tiny one here, or let's do a little bud. That might be fun. There we go. Let's see here. And we'll create another little leaf. So again, these are just fun little flowers you could actually combine with your bigger flowers, just as filler and some things like that. Let's do a little bud. Let's see, the buds, I believe, if I remember, there's something kind of like that. I'm going to dab off and pick up some of that, just dabbing off on my paper towel. Maybe add in a little bit darker hue there. There we go. And maybe one right here. So these would be really fun in a little wildflower bouquet you could paint. Just going to dab in there with some yellow. So there you go. Now, if something like this happens and you're like, oh no, just dab on your paper towel and just pick it up. Okay, just like that. And there you go. Let's create some leaves for this one, and we'll kind of vary the values. So point, press, and point. And then let's create darker value one here, so it kind of stands out. Point, press, look at that. Isn't that fun? Point, press. I love, if you're watching my tutorials, I just love playing with the values of different petals and things. I think that is so much fun and makes such a difference in your paintings. If you ever just feel like your painting is kind of boring, add a different value of paint, meaning a more watered down version for a lighter value. Let's add a couple more in here. Again, playing with that value. So point, press, wiggle, wiggle, something like that. Make sure you're always using different sized leaves so it's a little bit more interesting. I notice that a lot in people's paintings, mine included, that if I don't watch it, I will do all the leaves the same size and it's really boring. So make sure you're always playing with the value, with the shapes, with the sizes of all your leaves. Let's do a dark one right there. So I'll pick up just more paint. Something like that. So making all of those all different, because if you think about it, you know, everything's growing at different rates and different speeds. So they're going to be smaller, larger. And then let's go in and just darken a couple of the values and you'll see how much more interesting, just like here, when I darken some of these up. So let me grab some of that paint and let's just go in and darken a few. Let me grab a little bit more here. And look at how interesting all of a sudden it becomes when we do that. All of a sudden you feel like it's kind of round. These darker ones feel like they're a little bit more in front. Isn't that so easy and interesting? And then we can go in and darken those. So I'm just going to add a little bit of my blue and go in and darken some of those up again. So always playing with the size of your leaves and your flowers and playing with the shapes, that they're various sizes and shapes, and your values. So let's add one more leaf in here and let's get kind of like a middle tone. I'm going to try and get in between those two. So here we go. Wiggle, wiggle. Something like that. Maybe. So that just creates so much interest, right? And then over here, we can even do one more little bud coming out here. Something like that. Go in with our cad yellow. And there you go. So thanks so much for showing up again, you guys. I have a new microphone. I'm so excited. I'll list all my supplies, but it's all the basics I always use. My Winsor Newton paints, my 140 cold press, and my typical paintbrushes. So there you go. We've got our foxglove. We've got our valerian, which I think is a really great filler flower. And then we've got our little dandelions, which I think are really cute. Okay, I hope that was fun and inspires you to pick up your brushes and paint with me. And always remembering to play with the values, lighter and darker, and the sizes of your leaves. All right, everybody, have so much fun and thank you for coming back. I'm good now on my microphone and I can't wait to use it more. All right, bye-bye.